touchdown.
In the Midwest, we okay. Everybody know them Southern boys love that bass.
Marshall calling you from the Flag Football America Network, and tonight we have a very special episode. We're going to be talking about the new trend in flag football, which really isn't a trend. It's going to be something that's going to be with us a while, and tonight's company really sort of exudes or sort of exemplifies what that's all about. We're going to be talking about basically protection helmets, and one of the companies out in California that's just doing a great job is a company that's called Rocksolid by Joey LaRocque. Rocksolid is committed to making football safer and more enjoyable for everyone. Seeing a major void in player safety and so-called non-contact play, former NFL players have come together and designed the first head protection ever made specifically for flag football and high school off-season practice. They believe there's no such thing as non-contact football, and they're here to make the game as safe as parents and players expect it to be. So Rocksolid was founded by former NFL players Joey LaRocque and Caleb Haney. During their playing days, Joey and Caleb saw many head injuries during flag football play, as well as during non-contact drills and 7-on-7. When they retired from the NFL, Joey and Caleb knew this issue needed to be addressed immediately. So Joey and Caleb designed this product to fill a significant void in player safety among our nation's youth. It is their mission to make sure every child in the country is properly protected. So, again, you want to check us out on flagfootballamerica.com, but you also want to check out a really cool website called Live Rock Solid. And on there you can see a lot of great information about the helmet. And there are some other companies out there doing this, but, you know, with concussions and head injuries and just the need for safety, this type of equipment is definitely going to be needed and, you know, absolutely required in the future. So let me talk a little bit about Rocksolid. First of all, it's a really cool-looking helmet. You know, I kind of think of it, if I had to describe it, and you hear it through the radio, it's sort of like a really cool kind of Magneto-type helmet if you're in the comic books. But let me tell you a little bit about Rocksolid. First of all, kids all over the country are playing non-contact football. During such things as flag football and off-season padless practice for the full contact players, there really is no real words such as non-contact or zero contact. And football players are always crossing and converging at a single point, which is typically the ball. And we're actually going to have our guest come in and speak more about it. And we're going to actually bring him in to talk more about his great organization and his company. Joey, are you with us?
I'm here.
Oh, great, fantastic. Thank you so much for calling in. I just kind of got the show rolling. And for my audience out there, I've gotten a little bit to talk about sort of a description of what the company is and what you do, but I want to introduce my guest, and he can talk a lot more freely about the company and the organization and what they do. Who do we have on the line with us?
My name's Joey LaRocque. I'm founder and CEO of Rocksolid.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved with your company and what's the mission of Rocksolid.
Well, first of all, you know, my background, you know, I started playing tackle football when I was 8 years old. From day one, I've told people I want to play in the NFL. I want to play football for the rest of my life. You know, I've told them when people just thought I was nuts, you know, they thought I was crazy, they thought it was impossible. Went to high school, you know, had a good career, went to college, went to Oregon State. You know, I'm undersized. You know, I wasn't, you know, the prototypical, you know, linebacker, size and speed. I ended up defying the odds, got drafted by the Chicago Bears. You know, had a couple seasons there, ended up having a couple back surgeries. My career was a little cut short. You know, I love the game of football. I never wanted to be away from it. So what happened was I went back to Southern California where I live, And, I started helping out at the local high school. In California, they don't wear pads in the off-season. So we were doing their athletics period, which was, essentially their PE course for the football players. And we were doing some run fit drills and, where basically they're playing football with no pads on. One of the kids ran up and collided with another player. Both of the kids fell on the ground. Basically, one dude had stitches across his eyelid. It was one of the most disgusting scenes I've seen. At that point, I thought to myself, in football, there's so many regulations. They're making such a big effort out there to make the game safer. There's so much negative attention to, head injuries, things of that nature. And so what they do is they try and limit how many days you're wearing pads. Well, what most people don't realize is, there's no such thing as non-contact football. It's inevitable that anytime you have two players converging on one point, competing for a ball, there's chance of injury. Now, what am I saying? Am I saying that they're going to go out there and have a catastrophic injury? It happens, yes, but it's not the standard. The injuries we see in non-contact football is nicks, cuts, fractures, bruising, hematomas on the head and face. And it just happens all the time because you're unprotected. So when I saw that injury, the lights went on. I said, I've seen more injuries in non-contact football than I've ever seen in regular football. And I thought to myself, this is nuts. People are wearing mouthpieces to cover their mouth and teeth. How are they not wearing something to cover their head? And I said, So basically, I went to a local company that was manufacturing, soft shell equipment for rugby. And okay. I started licensing that product out. And, I had quite a few schools in Southern California. And right then and there, I said, okay, I've got something here. It's time for me to make something that's built specifically for football. And within 6 months, after designing and producing that helmet, we had 200 high schools in Southern California. And, I wish everybody fluffs numbers, but literally within 6 months we had 200 high schools in Southern California. And this was something that my mission for Rocksolid, while it started in high school football, it's traveled to Division I football when they're not allowed to wear pads. But more importantly, people don't realize how big flag football has become. With all the negative attention to tackle football, all that's happening is tackle football numbers are declining and flag football is increasing. So now I've got this product that allows kids to feel like football players, number one. It's something on their head. If you've got something on your head, it's better than nothing. And so if it makes one mom that wouldn't let her kid play tackle football and she's scared to death that her kid's going to have a catastrophic, concussion, she puts him in flag football. And now that mom can have a peace of mind because he's wearing a cool soft shell helmet that has, looks like a Spartan helmet. But at the same time, all the other guys, whether they're kids that are 5 years old or grown adults, I play in a flag football league and I wear my soft shell helmet. My whole team does. And, one kid wears it, looks like an idiot. You get your whole team wearing it, there's a psychology of wearing a football helmet. I don't care if it's flag football, tackle football, playing football with your pops in the backyard. I don't care what it is. You have something on your head, it makes you feel like a football player. And the game of football has done so much in my life, whether it be, teach me, discipline, hard work, chemistry, team chemistry. The qualities and characteristics of football that you learn with your teamwork, it's so invaluable, and you don't need to be a professional athlete to experience it. You get out there with your buddies, whether you're 40 years old and you play in your local flag football tournament, you can still develop these characteristics because somebody on your team is relying on you. And my goal was if I could have somebody that was not going to play because they were worried about injury, who's now playing football, my job's done. And, this is a training tool. It gets people used to wearing something on their head. So for kids that want to transition slowly into tackle football, they wear this when they're playing flag. And then when they get to tackle football, they've had, a few years wearing something on their head that teaches them, it's warm, gets them used to, sweating. And then if you got a guy that was, man, I just don't want to get injured. I love the game of football, but, hell, I don't want to dive and take a knee to the side of the head. Well, this allows that guy to go out there and play. And we've done that now, and we're now in our second year of business. We have over 500 high schools across the country. It's growing rapidly. We've got flag leagues across the country. It's become my baby. It's my passion. I had this love of the game for football, and I'm still in it. Every weekend I'm at some sort of flag league. I'm at a 7-on-7 tournament. I'm at practice for some high school. We've done deals with Division I schools. I mean, it's an incredible endeavor that I'm involved with. I've got professional athletes. My partner's Caleb Haney, who played quarterback for the Chicago Bears behind Jay Cutler, played behind Peyton Manning. So it's all these, former players. Greg Laybourne played at Oregon State with me, played safety. Naaman Frank played at Oregon State, had a little stint with the Packers. I mean, these guys that just love the game and want to help grow the game are involved. And, we wake up with a smile on our face every day.
Oh, that's great. That's great. You said so much in there that, a lot of times when I first got into flag football, again, this is Flag Football America Network, and I'm on the phone with Joey LaRocque, and you said so much about I often called it the sport of the future, but you touched on a huge point that so many kids love football, but really only a handful are ever going to, even with concussions and everything now, only a small group are going to really go forth and do like the full-blown contact. And so flag football has exploded because it really is a sport that so many different people can play. So what are your ultimate goals? Like, I know NFL flag has a lot. I mean, they're just amazing with what they're doing with the flag. Have you approached them about making this something that they'll integrate, or are you just kind of doing your own thing now, and then hopefully down the line you can maybe partner up with them?
No, absolutely. We're looking to get to the game's highest level. We've had contact with several NFL teams that are all, wanting to incorporate this into their youth camps, things of that nature. Anytime you're working with a big corporation, it takes time. Do we think that this is the future of flag football? 100, a gazillion % yes. No doubt do we believe it to our core that we are going to be the thing that changes the game of football forever. Now, being said, anytime you create a market, it takes time. And, we've done such an amazing job, tweaking our product. It started off amazing. But, coaches and players, they give us some feedback, we change it, and we make it better. And as we get better and better and better, these guys that are at the game's highest level, they're going to have no option. We look at this thing, people are wearing mouthpieces, and they're required for most leagues. And what does a mouthpiece actually do? There's no stopping concussions, number one. I don't care what anybody says. Any testing, it doesn't matter. You cannot stop a concussion. And I'm not claiming that we will either. But what we will say is if you're willing to protect your teeth, you should be willing to, protect your head against surface-level injuries. And so that's my mission. I want to make sure I'm on every single high school football player's head. I want to make sure I'm on every single flag football player's head, whether that's a 5-year-old kid or a 60-year-old man that's playing in the park with his buddies. So that's really the mission of Rocksolid, is we want to make the game safer and more enjoyable for anybody.
That's great. That's great. So I also want to give out your website. I would be remiss if I didn't do that. It's liverocksolid.com. Okay? Check it out. Again, that's liverocksolid.com. We're excited to just know about this product, and hopefully, Flag Football America, we can continue to do some things down the line. I'm definitely excited about your product. You talk about the RS1, which is sort of like a really cool name. Can you just give me some features about that product?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's our core product. The RS1 stands for Rocksolid, number one. And essentially what we wanted to do, we found that there was mainly 3 injuries that we were seeing in non-contact football. And basically the number one injury is the brow line stitches. And more kids and more, players, they run into somebody, they lead with the brow line. It's just, I don't know why it is, but, that injury happens more often than anything. And, it's a very vulnerable area where the skin can easily split. I mean, it's the cut that boxers get because, your skin's on a very sharp bone in your body. So anytime it's ruffled, it splits. So that's the number one injury. Number 2 is the orbital bone. It's just, when you stub your toe, it always seems to stick out. Well, it's the same thing with the orbital bone. It's the one spot on your face that always seems to get hit. And whether that gives you a nice shiner or a fractured bone, that's the second most common injury. The third most common injury is hitting the back of your head on the ground. And so what we wanted to do was, address those areas, beef them up, and make sure that we protected them to the best of our abilities. And so, anytime you're wearing a helmet, who am I to kid? I was a kid and my dad bought me a bike, and, I went out there in the yard and was riding my bike. My dad came home from work and said, "Why aren't you wearing your helmet?" And in my mind, thinking, because helmets are stupid, they're ugly. I don't want to wear one. And so it's the same thing with this, no kid, nobody wants to wear a helmet. They're goofy. So what can we do to make this thing masculine? What can we make it tough? And so we were talking about it, and I've got plenty of friends that are still current NFL players. And one of the biggest things now, everybody knows what a Spartan warrior is. So what we did was we designed this helmet to kind of model a Spartan helmet. At the same time, with those features that a Spartan helmet has, it happens to protect the areas that are most vulnerable in non-contact football. So it worked out really well. We've got a real masculine design that can make a 5-year-old kid feel, not goofy, but a football player, a real tough masculine football player.
Just of the RS1.
Okay.
Well, number one, when looking at helmets, helmets get a bad rap. It's funny. When I was a kid, my dad bought me a bike, and he goes to work, and I go on my bike. I don't wear a helmet. I go, fly around town with my buddies, and I get back home, and my dad's sitting in the driveway. He says, "Where's your helmet, son?" I said, "Well, my friends will make fun of me. I don't want to look goofy." He says, "Well, you're not riding your bike unless you're wearing your helmet." And to me, that always meant something. So when I created the soft shell helmet, I thought to myself, I've got NFL friends that are currently playing, and I wanted to know what they thought and how can I make this thing cool. And so what they said was, football's a masculine sport. Make the thing look tough, make it look masculine, so these kids don't feel weird or uncomfortable wearing a helmet. And so what we did was we designed it to look like a Spartan helmet. It's got the same, real tough masculine lines, but when we were designing this thing, so we had to make it look cool, number one. Number two, we wanted to make sure that we were protecting the areas that were most vulnerable in non-contact football. Contrary to belief, thanks to the media, everybody thinks that, these catastrophic, head injuries occur all the time. Well, in flag football, not really the case. What we do see is, fractured orbital bones, brow line stitches, hitting the back of your head. So what we did was, we made sure that we added padding to that area. So, since it looks like a Spartan helmet, it covers the orbital bone, it covers the brow line, covers the back of the head, and it's got enough padding where it actually does something. So our goal was to make this thing look cool, protect the right areas, and then number three, be so light that, it doesn't encourage people to do something stupid. And one of the things that, is so important to me is that you wear one of these things, you forget it, you're wearing it. It becomes a precautionary piece of equipment. And, if something bad happens, you just got to protect it, hopefully, from a surface level injuries. Am I saying that we're going to protect everything? Absolutely not. But, I do know that we're going to help with surface level injuries, which are more common in flag football anyway. And so the last piece of it, look cool, protect the right areas, light, and make sure that it fits real well. Our helmets are designed to fit, snug and comfortably. So we made all these adjustments to the helmet, and it started off one way, and every single season, we make sure that we get the feedback from our customers, and we adjust it and make it better and better and better. And that's what we've done the last 2 years. And, we've got nothing but great feedback. It's been really exciting. I follow what everybody says, and if they say that they want to make a little bit bigger size, then we do that. If they want to make sure that, there's chin straps, then that's what we do. I want to make sure that our clients are as responsible for the growth of our company. I want them to feel like, hey, man, I wrote to these guys that they should do this, and, 6 months later, it's incorporated in the helmet. It's a pretty cool feeling when you have that kind of interaction with your customers.
That's great. And, let's talk about this, like your team, and sort of like, who's kind of on your team. And I know you've got a lot going on the West Coast, and I know your goal is to want to expand. So can you talk a little bit about, like, who's on the Rocksolid team?
Absolutely. So my partner in the business is Caleb Haney. He played in the NFL. We met in Chicago when we played for the Bears, but he essentially was the backup quarterback to Jay Cutler and Peyton Manning. And so he's, kind of been spearheading our Texas effort. It's been going phenomenal. We have hundreds of programs in Texas, flag and high school and college for that matter. Things have been going amazing there. Obviously, California is where we started this thing. We're in programs all across the state, high school, flag, you name it, we're in it. We've got a big presence in the Northeast. We've got a little bit of a presence in the southeast. But I mean, this thing's becoming global, and it's happening almost overnight. It's been unbelievable how much of a buzz it's created in the football market. High school, it started that way, and then it immediately went to flag football. So I've got a couple guys that have played in the NFL, a couple guys that played at Oregon State with me, Greg Laybourne. He's most recognizable for shutting down USC when they were number one in the country, picked off Mark Sanchez to seal the game. One of our other guys is Naaman Frank. He was an enormous human, played D-line for us and, had a brief stint with the Packers. We've got a guy who actually played for Rhode Island baseball, Ty Muller, our corporate guy, Larry Monty, former cop, police officer, we'll say. But, I mean, we just have an amazing group. We're all former players of some sort. We get that team atmosphere. Every day we wake up with a smile on our face. It's tough to walk in there without getting ripped on a little bit, but that's the kind of culture that we set. If you're not out there hustling, you're going to hear about it. And it's that team. It's, I like to make our business like a football team. And, you got one weak link in your chain, you're not going to win the game. And it's the same way in business. You've got to have that chemistry. You've got to have that, that ability to call somebody out and, take constructive criticism. It's just like football. And that's the kind of culture we've created, and that's what we need to get successful.
Okay, again, I'm on the phone with Joey LaRocque. He is basically the founder of Rocksolid, which is an innovative head guard. They currently have the RS1 on their website. You need to check out their website, liverocksolid.com. Not only do they have some really great descriptions of the product, but they've also got some, a gallery that shows the product in use. They've also got other pictures and photos that really do a great job of explaining the product. The other thing is they have former NFL players that are on their team that really can sort of, solidify and give a lot of credentials to what they're doing. Joey, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, do you still play football, flag football in the league, or do you just kind of go and, just stay loose? Are you on any teams right now?
Well, it's funny. Right now it's been incredibly busy as a business, but, every now and again I've got a buddy who runs the Entertainment Flag Football League here in Southern California. And, it's pretty darn competitive out here. And I've been out there a few times. I'm not what I was. I used to be able to fly a little bit, but now when I can get out, I definitely get out there. Caleb, he just played in East Texas Flag Football League. It's one of our partners, and he was out there, whipping the ball around, and he said he couldn't even move the next day, and he just retired playing in the NFL. So, these guys get after it. Flag football is no joke. You go out there and you got to compete, and if you don't, you're going to get called out by the other team.
Absolutely. Okay, so we got about 5 minutes left in the show. So how do the parents, have you heard any stories or have you got any feedback from the parents?
Oh, gosh, yes.
As far from about the helmet?
Oh, 100%. That's been one of the most rewarding things in the world. We go to a flag league. These flag leagues initially, especially the youth ones, they're so hesitant because, it's an added cost. They're worried, the kids aren't going to like it. But here's what happens every time. You go out there, you finally get the deal done. Everybody's wearing one, and we're out there with the booth, and every single parent walks by and say, you guys are amazing. You guys are making this game so much more fun. You'd think it'd be safe, but no. Number one, it's the enjoyable experience that the kid now has because he feels like a football player. And I'm not saying he's going to go out there and tackle someone because that's, he wakes up, he brings his football helmet to practice. It's adding to the experience of playing football. And parents love it. They can go out there and feel like their kid is as safe as possible. They've done everything they possibly can to ensure their kid's safety. And does that mean that they're invincible? No, absolutely not. Anything can happen at any time. But they've taken every single precaution they possibly can. And now their kid can go out there and have fun. Our mission is to go out and enhance the game of football, have kids and adults have fun playing the game of football, but being it safe.
Oh, yeah, that's great. And I think that's the key thing you said. It's definitely adding to the experience. And like I said before, you being a former NFL player, so many kids, and young players and even adults and men and women, they watch football and they want to be that player. And so anything that gets them a little bit closer to that experience with actually really being hit, I think, is what, one, is the value of flag football, but is also the value of products like yours. And it's about safety first. I do run some clinics and I'm a referee, and so many times the kids want to dive, but it's like it's got to be about the safety. And with the head traumas, I know probably when you played, it was just, hey, smell it off and get back in there. But yeah. I think now it's great that, the NFL, what you're doing and your product is really about safety first.
No doubt. You have to make sure that the integrity of the game's growing with, obviously the number. Anytime that football is the most popular sport in America. So what can we do to add to the integrity of the game? Well, you keep the kids safe. Because all these NFL players, they start somewhere. So if you got a kid that, took stitches to the side of his head when he was 8 years old and quit and never played the game again because he cried on the middle of the field and all his friends were laughing at him. Well, now imagine this. That kid gets hit in the head, nothing happens, he's fine, and he ends up being the next Clay Matthews. That's the way this world works. So you protect them now so they can grow up and, contribute to the game and have millions of fans if they do make it one time. And, they set a good example for kids, and it gives people, something to look up to. And that's what's so special about football. It allows people to dream that, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. And that's something that we're going to help. If you get one kid that would have had stitches or some sort of injury that didn't, I've done my job.
Wow, that's great. All right, so again, on the phone with Joey LaRocque, his website, LiveRockSolid.com. You can purchase the helmets online. Flag Football America is really excited and proud to be working with Joey and Rocksolid on this helmet. And one of the initiatives we're going to try and do in the future is definitely try to put it out and really get the word out and and get adults, kids purchasing this product. So, Joe, we got 1 minute left. Any closing thoughts that you want the audience to hear? The floor is yours.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you are, and I'm sure, you've got a lot of people that you want to talk to. So taking the time to chat with me tonight has been very special to me, and I appreciate that. And I really look forward to continuing our relationship with you guys. The fact that you're building a platform for people to be more informed with the game is amazing, and I think that it's got nothing to do but grow. And I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited to be a part of this thing. And if there's anything you need from our end, we're here to help you guys. So we look forward to this partnership.
Fantastic. Again, from our audience, Flag Football America Network, you can go to flagfootballamerica.com and check it out. LiveRockSolid.com. Check out our Facebook, Instagram. We'll be putting more news up there about their product. Have a great night, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Joey.
Touchdown. In the Midwest, we okay. Everybody know the Southern boy love that bass. Atlanta